I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me. I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Welcome to this episode of A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris, with your host, your friend in success, Chris Celeste. Now, I created this YouTube channel for two purposes. One, to really highlight the success stories of online entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. And two, to really pull back the curtain on what it actually takes to be successful as an entrepreneur in the online space. You know, it's very popular to see all the glitz and glamour, the fancy cars and vacations all over the internet. But what does it really take for an entrepreneur like you or me to really have that lifestyle, to really become successful online? So each week, I'll pull out a different person and have them share their success, share how it is they achieved that success, and really pull back that curtain for you so that you can have the tools, principles, and resources that you need to achieve it yourself. Now, before I dive into today's guest, I really just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items. One, if you're finding value in these interviews, in this interview series, please comment your biggest takeaway and hit that like button. And if you want to catch all this content as it's dropping and not miss any of the value, you definitely want to smash that subscribe button and make sure that you have your notifications on so that you can receive it in your inbox as soon as it drops. With all that being said, let's bring out today's guest. Cole, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to give back to the viewers. I know it's going to be some amazing copywriting conversations happening during this, and it's something that is kind of a hidden skill, but a really unique and powerful skill that's in high demand that people really don't understand. And I'm happy to have you out and kind of shed some light on it, maybe share a few tips, and let's find out who Cole is. So thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, thank you for having me, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. I love talking about copywriting because it's one of those things that's just, like you said, just not talked about, but it's so important. It's one of those like hidden secrets of the gurus that they don't talk about. So it's a lot of fun to kind of peel back the veil on that and show everybody what's really going on behind the scenes of this stuff.
Absolutely. And then it's perfect for them because the actual name of the show is A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris. So we're pulling that curtain back on copywriting today. And who better to do that with than probably one of the best copywriters I've ever met. You know, you've been able to, we'll talk about it some more obviously, but the networking and the people you've been able to teach and copyright for, absolutely amazing, that resume. And, so no one more qualified to be giving this curtain pullback than you, brother. So I like to start off the show, just let the viewers know, who is Cole? Where do you come from? How did you get started as a copywriter? Do you have entrepreneurs in your family? Like, just basic 5-10 minute backstory of who you are.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have a very long story, but I'll weed out all of the stuff that no one really cares about. I was raised by a single mom. She's always been in sales. So she's always kind of pushed me down that route. And it's always been kind of ingrained in me. So sales has always been a thing since I was young. The way we would have conversations, the way I would be able to get the things that I would want. As a kid, a new game system, a new bike, whatever, it was always some type of negotiation that was happening with my mom, which was very interesting. I thought it was normal until I started going to my friends' houses. Apparently that is not normal. And then kind of going forward a little bit and how I got into the copywriting space was actually all on accident. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, not every entrepreneur, but a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those starting out, we kind of have this like shiny object syndrome where we try a million different things and we don't really put our all into it. And for me, that was pretty much anything. I started flipping cars. I started making vinyl stickers for cars. I started consulting. I started marketing. I started doing all of these different things all at the same time, trying to figure out how to make this stuff work. And I just couldn't make it work because I was trying to do everything on my own and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really think about having a mentor. I didn't really think about, gaining more information or reading books or doing any of these things to help achieve these goals. So I was what I would consider kind of at my wit's end with this whole trying to break into the entrepreneur space. I had like one last ditch effort. I was probably at least 60 or 70 grand in debt at this point. I was selling cars. I was making good money, but I was spending way more money than I was making. A lot of failed business ventures, a lot of failed investments, a lot of failed things that cost me lots of money. And I was about ready to give up. And there was this internet marketer that I'm not going to name just for the controversy around this internet marketer currently. But I was in his Facebook group. He had, or maybe he still does, had one of the largest Facebook groups for salespeople. So I was thinking, like, this is the key I'm missing. I'm missing sales. I thought I was good at sales. Clearly I'm not. So I paid the $300 to go to his event, like literally tapping out my credit card limit at that point. And I drove down to his event in Texas, which was like a 15-hour drive from where I was from in Illinois. And when I got there, I didn't learn anything about sales. I learned everything about how to generate a lead so I could sell them something. And this was my first peek into this whole making money online thing and having it actually be a tangible, real thing. So I got back home, started, set up some ads for a very, 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 very good friend of mine's business. And the ads did really well. I was actually really surprised. We were getting hundreds of leads within a couple of days with a pretty decent sized budget. And these leads started converting and started turning into thousands and thousands of dollars. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I can do this. So I tried it for the consulting thing that I was trying to do, and I couldn't convert a single lead. So then I knew that it was me trying to figure out how to do this consulting thing, not really knowing how to consult. So kind of fast forward a little bit, I met another guy locally to me from my hometown that was very successful with affiliate marketing. He was running affiliate marketing for Uber, believe it or not. And he was making about 95 to 100 grand a year in revenue. And his take home was probably half after ad spend or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we were testing ads next to each other because he also wanted to do consulting. So we were trying to figure out who could get the better lead cost, who could get the better leads, yada, yada, yada. So he was on average getting leads for like $20 to $30 a pop, and my leads were costing me only $1 or $2. And the only difference between our two ad sets was the copy. And at the time, I didn't know that's what it was called. We just called it the text because in Facebook, when you go to write an ad, you just enter the text. And so I started doing some research on it and realized that it was copy. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm good at this. So he changed his ads and he started getting the $1 or $2 leads as well. And his were converting because he had been doing this whole marketing thing for quite a while. So I let him do the consulting thing. He used my copy and it worked out really well. And then I started writing every day. People started asking me to write for them. And it snowballed into me writing for some of the biggest internet marketers in the game right now, at least the biggest internet marketers that everybody sees, the celebrity ones, I guess you could say, that are doing tons and tons of money in revenue. But just kind of finagled my way into their circles, became somebody that they trusted, put the results first, and then the payment kind of came on the back end with those guys. And that's how I got to where I am. I just got to play with lots and lots of other people's money, testing millions and millions of dollars worth of ads against each other, trying to figure out what copy works and what doesn't. And it's pretty much it's all downhill from here for me, man. I mean, it's just full speed running, writing long form sales letters for the most part, lots of Facebook copy, lots of emails and stuff like that. And it's led to a book that we'll talk about later that I was able to write, which is awesome. And then I have an awesome academy where I teach. I have over 20 students. I haven't even officially launched this thing yet. And they're already I have some guys starting businesses and everything else. It's been an incredible ride for sure up to this point, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So you kind of hinted that you're from a small town in Illinois. When you were growing up there, when you were going through school, it was like, English one of your good subjects? Were you a good writer? Like, did you write well back then? Or was it something that like you just didn't even realize was a skill of yours, and then the next thing you knew, it was making you tons of money?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most common question I either get or the biggest like limiting belief people have. Growing up, and my mom to this day is still like blown, like mind blown. She can't believe that her son makes money writing. I was terrible. I would literally talk teachers into giving me extra credit. I would pull up Spark Notes. I remember in 8th grade, I got in trouble for plagiarizing a paper because I couldn't write it. Grammar is still one of my biggest struggles that I have. My vocabulary is not very big. Everything that the school system has taught us, the education system has taught us, or leads us to believe is it makes you a good writer. All of that has nothing to do with writing direct response copy. You actually have to go against pretty much every rule they teach. You have to go against pretty much everything you would know in order to get persuasive copy out into the world itself. For me, I was always really good at math. I was the math guy. I could do pretty much any type of math problem in my head, 9, 10, 12-step equations. That was pretty normal for me. English class was just absolute worst subject. I remember this, and this is another question that I get asked often was, did you go to college? And the answer is yes, for 3 weeks. And I took creative writing. I took some math class. And then I don't know what my third class was because I never went. But my creative writing teacher told me I needed to drop the class because I wasn't going to pass. She said that this isn't for me and I need to find a different English type class so that way I could get all my general education out of the way, but a writing class was not going to be for me. And at that point in my life, I was like, cool, like I don't want to write anyways. It was never a dream of mine. I never grew up wanting to be a writer. This is something that just kind of fell in my lap unexpectedly. And because I'm not conformed to these rules of English and grammar and everything I'd been taught, it's so much fun to push the boundaries of, psychology and helping humans make decisions to help better their lives and crush some limiting beliefs they may have. And I don't necessarily see it as like writing or selling. I just see it as helping people really transform their lives, helping them kind of push themselves over that edge to make decisions. And because of that, it's so much fun for me. And I get to be a little crazy, a little weird when I write, which is fun too. And add a little personality and try out different voices and styles. So it's been a lot of fun.
So it almost seems to me like the reason, so traditionally someone sits down, writes copy, and in their mind, subconsciously or consciously, they're thinking about the money they're going to make doing that. That comes through. That comes through in what you're writing, and people can kind of feel that. Do you think that maybe that gives you the advantage? Because you sit down and it's just a creative process for you. It's you having fun. It's you just getting to help people to better their lives by getting them to that decision. Do you think that is a reason why you're an effective copywriter? Because that level of just really caring and wanting the person to better their life comes through?
Yeah, I think it helps with consistency because, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I first started, it was like this adrenaline high that I had to be able to sit down, write a sales letter, and yank $100,000 out of the atmosphere for a client. For me, that was like the most badass thing you could do. I don't know if I can cuss on here, but I'm going to. But to be able to place words out into the world and sell a mass audience, thousands of people, to have thousands of people pull out their wallet, right, get their credit card out and spend $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. For me, it was just like, oh my God, it was an ego thing at that point when I first started. And then I started really thinking about what I was doing. And I started realizing that when people go through these programs, when people go through and invest in a course, they invest in coaching, they invest in a weight loss program, they invest in some type of info product that I believe in, it changes their life. It really gives them that breakthrough. It gives them an opportunity to experience a breakthrough. And for me, as I started, this is when I started going from having tons of hundreds of clients to having maybe 5 clients. This is when my business started to shift for me. It went from, I just want the money to I want to make a massive impact. And I knew based on the person I would be writing for. So for example, right, one of my first really big clients was Ty Lopez. So the reason I took on Ty was one, I know that Ty is putting out fundamental information people need to be able to break out of the traditional educational system of thinking. And this will start to get their mind turning, right? To get them thinking, what should I be doing with my life? And because Ty is basically on, I think 1 in 3 computers or 2 in 3 computers in the entire world, he has the audience for me to be able to impact lives with my copy. It's not all me, but I get to play a small role in changing millions of people's lives because I'm able to write for a guy like Ty Lopez. And same for my other clients as well. So for me, it shifted more from the money grabbing aspect to the impact aspect, and my business has changed tremendously. I'm happier, I work less, I make more. The impact I'm making makes me feel good. I'm actually fulfilled. It's absolutely incredible, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, that's really what I love too about this industry, and mainly the communities that I get to be a part of in this industry, because I'm not, in every community, obviously, but the mindset, that mindset right there, where it's about the impact and the influence and the lives you're actually changing. That's what gets me fired up about this industry, and probably why you and I connected so well when we met, is that we have that same mindset when it comes to marketing and the influence we're having on the world. So it's just really awesome that it's just so many of us, a large community of us, that all think that way. So I just wanted to point that out. But when you started, how long have you been professionally writing copy now?
A little over 2 years. So I'm not, I'm definitely no like Dan Kennedy or Frank Kern that have been doing this since the internet was invented back in the 90s by any means. But I have been like involved in sales and persuasion. I've been studying psychology for about a decade now. So for me, this is my cat, Eleanor, for everybody. She's very jealous that I'm talking to somebody that's not her. But luckily she is quiet. Usually she's meowing every 2 seconds. So that's good. But like I said, I mean, when I study, like when I learn copywriting, I don't handwrite old sales letters. That's the traditional, like if you talk to an internet marketer, for example, like I bet even Kiela would probably say there's a couple of courses here and there or whatever, but Kiela maybe 3-4 years ago would say, if you're like, I want to learn copywriting, he'd be like, yeah, go to like the halbertletters.com and hand copy his sales letters, right? This is how for the last 15, 20 years, people have learned how to write copy. And because of this internet age we're living in now, and the mass amount of people that are learning about these opportunities and making money online, these styles are repeated over and over and over and over and over again, to the point of where it's almost becoming saturated with that old school style, 90s and early 2000s style of writing, where you have to start shifting it into a more creative flow, more conversational today's day and age and everything else. So I feel like that even gives me an upper hand when I'm writing for clients as well.
Yeah, it's powerful, right? Because it's changing and it's evolving really quickly with the internet. So yeah, absolutely. So you've been doing this professionally about 2 years, and obviously you're writing for people like Ty Lopez, big names. You've been able to do things like that. What were some of the early obstacles that you hit, and how did you overcome them to be able to go from not writing copy professionally to now being able to write for some of the biggest famous names in marketing? How did you make that transition? What were some of the roadblocks you hit, and how did you push through them?
So the biggest roadblock I actually hit was my very, very, very first big client, and it was Alex Sharfin. And if you aren't familiar with who Alex Sharfin is, I strongly recommend you check him out. He's an absolutely incredible individual, really helping the entrepreneurs kind of with our own internal battles, because we are our own creatures in a way. But Alex was my very, very, very first big client. And it was one of those things where a lot of people would look at that situation and go, I'm not ready to handle that type of work yet. But that's not the mindset that I have. It's one of those things where I'll say yes and figure out how to do it along the way. And I fumbled quite a bit. I missed deadlines. I was behind the ball. I wasn't writing up to par to where he needed it to be. I missed a lot, but he gave me opportunity after opportunity. He brought on his previous writer, who is no longer a writer anymore. He kind of had retired out, and had brought him in to help coach me. And I just couldn't get there. It was too early for me in business to take on the workload required, plus the quality required, plus the speed required, and, everything else that goes along with business, because there's more to just business than me just sitting down and writing. I have to go find clients. I have to chase down money. I have to follow up with people. I have to analyze data. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And I just got in over my head, and I completely dropped the ball on that. And the reason why that it didn't tarnish my name, the reason why that didn't bring me down in the industry, and the reason why me and Alex are still very good friends today, is because I owned it. I told him, like, look, this is exactly what's going on with me right now. This is why this is happening. This is probably what's going to continue to happen. And this is what I would need in order to make this work for me. And he just said, I get it. He's like, we wanted to give you an opportunity. We tried and everything else. He's like, you're a great dude. I appreciate you being honest and transparent with us. We already found somebody, so we'll be able to transition you out. It's no big deal. And if you need anything, stay in contact. And because of the way I handled that situation, it allowed me to stay good in his community, to where him and his students were still referring people to me to handle copy quite a bit. So that, for me, it was like, really, because I was on such like a winning streak before that, and then having to have that conversation of, I can't handle this anymore, that hurt. And it kind of almost put me in a depressed mood for a little while. But I couldn't allow it to, so I had to dig myself out and find the clients and get the work done. And, after I kind of got my head back above water, after maybe a couple of weeks or whatever it was, I looked back and analyzed day by day, and pretty much wrote it out in a notebook. I don't have that notebook anymore, but I wrote it out day by day in that notebook of what happened, why didn't it happen the way it was supposed to, and what should I have done differently? What should I have done differently to onboard him? What should I have done differently to set expectations? And I went through and analyzed pretty much every minute of every day since the day that he said, yes, we'll hire you as our copywriter, until the day that I had to tell him, hey man, I just can't handle this. And because of that, because I was so obsessed about figuring out what went wrong and fixing it, I think that helped almost allow me to almost eliminate pretty much any problems that would come up in business in the future, as far as delivery of work and quality of work and expectations and all that. Like, just kind of handling the relationships with the clients and producing the results they wanted, and allowed me to work on the weaknesses that I had as a new entrepreneur and a copywriter. You're not always going to win. It's knowing that you're not always going to win, and looking at the losses as lessons, and figuring out what the lesson is and how you can correct that for the future, kind of thing. So that is my story of overcoming a really big obstacle. For me, it was a very, very painful obstacle for sure, but I pushed through somehow and made it through.
Yeah, and that's powerful, and I'm really glad that we were able to touch on that, because in entrepreneurship, in life, in life in general, you're gonna fail. I mean, you're not gonna win every single time. But what's
Right.
powerful with what you just said and shared with us is that you were able to not fall into this lump of depression or quit. You were able to look at it for what it was, a lesson learned, and actually look at it day by day, which was really powerful. Actually broke it down so you could know where to improve and how to work on your weaknesses and make them your strength. Like, that's huge. So, I mean, as a viewer, like, that's a powerful thing, guys. If you don't understand that, to not quit and to move forward and take every bump in the road as a lesson, that's powerful stuff. And that's how you become, a successful entrepreneur, or successful in anything you're trying to do. So I'm really glad that you shared that.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk about, obstacles and overcoming them, I also like to talk about big wins. What are some of the things that now, being able to work at the level you are as a copywriter, what are some of the things that you're able to do in your life now that wouldn't have been possible if you didn't step into the role as a master copywriter?
Well, I mean, now, like we met at the AWOL intensives in Vegas at Keola's house, right? And, that's something that, if I wasn't producing the results, if I never picked myself up after that loss that I had, there's no way that Keola would have invited me to come into his home. And then there's no way he would have been like, hey, dude, you should like just teach copywriting day for my highest level students that pay, that invest thousands and thousands of dollars to come learn the best information they can. So that gives me that opportunity. I've been, last year, 2018, I was able to fly private for the first time, which is ruined commercial flying for me forever. Like, it is terrible going through security and checking bags and oh my God, that's first world problems that I'm living with now. But doing that, spending time with my family. I live out here in LA. My family's in Illinois. So, spending time with my family, I got to visit them, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 times last year, which was nice. And traveling, meeting the people that I meet, which has been amazing. And then also being able to kind of dictate the way my life is lived. A lot of people think that when we see that out in the world, live the life you've always dreamed of. A lot of people think massive mansions, Ferraris, Rolexes. And for me, it's like finding happiness. It's finding a balance. I don't need to be a millionaire today. I don't need to be a millionaire tomorrow. I don't need to be a millionaire at all. I just need to be able to create a lane where I can create a massive impact. So that way I feel good about my legacy that's being created. And taking care of my kitty cat that likes to interrupt interviews all the time. But those are kind of my, that's kind of my focus right now, is kind of, figuring out exactly where I want to take my life now. And a lot of people like to pretend, especially influencers, like to pretend that life is figured out. But the truth is it's not true. Facebook had no idea that they were going to grow to the level they're at today. They just kept pushing forward and kept following the legacy they wanted to build. They want to connect the entire world together. And through all these different tools and add-ons and updates and everything else that they got going on, it's getting them one step closer every single day to doing that. And that's why it's become such a massive global platform. It's just because they're just doing it one step at a time. Facebook didn't wake up with billions of active users. They woke up with a few thousand, and they just progressed every single day. And because of that, they're able to get to where they're at. So for me, it's just, looking at the long term. What is it? Is it the massive impact that I'm going to make? How can I do that? I can do it through my clients. I can do it through my teaching as well. Those are 2 ways. There's other ways I can do that. I can start to create a bigger income, so I can start creating foundations and start giving back, start helping, eliminate poverty, start giving education to those who can't afford it, or just simply can't make it to school, or there is no school systems, or the schools are run down, or whatever it ends up being. There's so many different paths that I'm gonna be able to take now because of the work I put in, the stress I've gone through, the frustrations, the headaches, and the big wins as well. So because of, putting my head down and being able to, look at the losses as lessons, and then be able to take the big wins and look at it and go, let's do that again. It's opened up pretty much any door I want opened up, and given me the belief inside myself that I can literally do anything I want to, as long as I'm putting enough goodwill back into the world and I'm willing to put in the work to make it happen. So.
Yeah. And though one thing that I know, like, you did list off many great wins, but there's one thing that you've also done that you briefly mentioned earlier, and that's you're an author. You're a best-selling author. So you want to talk to us a little bit about that book?
Yeah, so I've, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, I have my bookshelf. It's kind of hard to see back here, and a couple of these books I ghost wrote, and are bestsellers for other authors, which has been amazing. That kind of opened my eyes to, maybe I am good at this writing thing. Maybe I'm not. But my most recent book, you can kind of see like these stacks of black envelopes here. These are all books that I'm shipping out today. Actually, good thing I set a reminder for our interview today, because I was just going to go to the post office and mail these. I would have missed our interview. That's why I set reminders, because I forget. But yeah, so I just recently released this very softly, Write Like the Wolf. And this book is the most meaningful book I wrote. I mean, I have my other books that I've written. This book, when I first moved to California, paid my rent the first month, because otherwise I was going to be homeless. But this book is important to me, but the amount of just pure sweat and blood and tears that have gone into Write Like the Wolf, I don't think I'm going to be able to put out another piece as powerful as this one. You heard about my big loss that I had, and that was at pretty much the end of 2017. So I started 2018 with a big L, basically. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had this idea of writing this book in my head, and I kind of had written the book already, but that big loss kind of made me put this book back on the shelf and go, that's not ready yet. So 2018 started rolling around, and I started speaking at events all over the country. I started landing huge clients like Ty Lopez, Timothy Sykes, Chris Record, Dave Meltzer, Casey Adams, John Mullet, Build Your Empire. Like I started writing for these guys, and they start referring business to me consistently. And I start producing millions of dollars, not thousands of dollars like I did the last year, but millions of dollars for my clients. And I started to really just pull my head down. And 2018 was like the best year of my life, just business and life in general. Biggest personal growth I had, understanding that I can come back from these setbacks, that life does get better. And then in business, I mean, the amount of money I made last year was awesome. I never thought that I was going to be able to do that at such a young age. I had always told myself I wanted to, but when I didn't focus on that number anymore, and I just started doing what I knew was right and doing the best work I could, the money just came. So I went through 2018, generated over $11 million in revenue for my clients. And keep in mind, I had less than 7 clients last year. So to generate $11 million in revenue for 6 clients, that's incredible. That's almost $2 million per client. And for each of those clients, I worked on 1, maybe 2 projects. So everything I touched pretty much produced 7 figures. There's only one project I think produced like $800,000, which is still a win in my book. So last year was incredible. And then the end of November hit, and I had realized that I had only set 2 goals for 2018. That was to write my book and to finish filming my course. And I didn't do either. This book that I had set on the shelf was missing the $11,217,000 worth of knowledge that I had just acquired over 11 months. So I erased everything I had for the book. And in December, I sat down and wrote this book, Write Like the Wolf, your copywriting playbook from start to finish. And this isn't a normal book. This isn't your typical, I'm going to tell you a story, and then at the end of it, there's a huge long sales pitch. There is no sales pitch. I ask you to tag me on social media and leave a review on Amazon, because I'm not going to not plug myself like that. But there is no sales pitch in the book. This book is literally everything I learned in 2018 as far as writing copy. The structures, the frameworks, trigger words, transitional phrases, different styles you can write, how to get into the writing mood, how to create the mindset to do it, the foundation you need to lay, and then putting it all together. I've literally wrote this book to where anybody could read it, anybody at any educational level, no matter what, as long as you can read in English somehow or be able to translate it into whatever language you speak or read in, as long as you can consume the words that are in this book and follow directions, you can write copy. I'm not telling you it's going to produce $11 million worth of work, because you're going to have to find your own spin, your own style, your own voice, which this book will help you do. But if you do what this book tells you to do, your copy will get better. You will write more powerfully and more effectively. And if you're listening to this or watching this right now, and you're like somebody that's like, I never write my own copy, I hire guys like Cole, they're the best. If you could communicate more clearly to your team, to your family, to your friends, what would life look like for you? I guarantee you the ability to communicate effectively is universally needed for any profession, any type of aspirations, any goals you may have, any point in your life. There is no amount of communication that isn't needed. You need to be able to communicate effectively, and this book helps people do that. I just have it kind of wrapped in a pretty copywriting method type of way. So I'm so excited about this book, and that's why I keep rambling about it and looking at it. I have little doodles in here. I'm proud of my doodles. My tattoo artist made my doodles because he's awesome and just does all of my tattoos. So I figured I'd have him do the artwork as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm so stoked about this book. I've sold over 100 copies in the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. And I ran ads to break even to test the sales letter for it. But that was, I think we only sold like 3 or 4 books. So through that, just to break even on ad spend, just testing the copy for the funnel or whatever. So it's been incredible. It's been all organic. The high level people that I work with have bought this book to give to their in-house teams that write their everyday copy. Friends of mine that are copywriters are loving this book as well. I can't be more proud of a piece of work that I've done than this right here. It's been incredible. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm so excited to get this out into the world.
Yeah, you hit a couple of really awesome points there. I just want to just hit them again really quick. So communication, right? It's one of the most useful tools in the whole world. There was the interview with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, where it was at a college. The college student asks them, what was the most important skill you've learned, or what could be the most important skill we could learn moving forward? And, you would think Warren Buffett, being the investor he is, he would tell you, investing, like learning how to read the stock market. He was like, no, he was like, the best skills that you can learn, take a course in sales and communication.
Yep.
And it wasn't until he took the Dale Carnegie course on communication that he really became the Warren Buffett we know today. Mm-hmm. And it's 100%. So important to be able to communicate what's going on in here to the outside world properly. So yeah, even if you're not looking to copyright, to be able to be a better communicator is just bar none one of the best skills you can learn. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And then, is there maybe like a little tidbit of that book that you could just share really quick, just to give the viewer kind of an idea of some of the skills or things they're going to learn?
There's so much in this book. There like a ton is in this book, but I'll go. This is going to be my favorite chapter in this. This is, so for example, I was speaking at the AWOL intensive last month or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was. I was there speaking and going through it. And basically anytime I go to teach copywriting, the very first question I ask is, who is really great at English in school? And I get maybe 1 or 2 hands. Which is exactly what I'm looking for. So 1 or 2 people raise their hand. I'm like, great. It'll be an easy transition for you. I'm like, for everybody else, it's going to be even easier. And everyone's like, what is he talking about? So chapter 5 of the book is why we use a process. So I have this dialed down to a process where you can literally pretty much just answer questions and write your copy. The process is so simple. So to write good copy, I'm just going to make sure that I'm going in order because I have really bad ADD as well, but you want to understand the needs of the marketplace. And this isn't this process comes from a gentleman named Aldous. So Aldous Manitus. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. This is back in Europe in 1493. So this was 500-600 years ago, whatever it was, right? So he basically, what his job was he would sell small printed Bibles in different languages. He would sell Christian Bibles, Catholic Bibles, all the different religious books. And that was his job. And the way he sold them was not by going door to door and asking people to buy stuff. Was he would mail a letter and ask about the village's religion. Who did they believe in? And then people would write him back. And obviously this was a long process. He didn't have a mail system like we have today. So the carrier would go in once a month, whatever. He'd get the responses back from the village. The village would say they are Jewish, they are Christian, they are Catholic, they are Muslim, they are whatever the religion was. And then he would mail basically what was an order form, not an order form like today, but write a letter explaining to them, the importance of carrying the good book of whatever it is for them, right? And he'd write this long letter, and then it said if they would want one, that they would need to meet at town hall at this time and this day. And and he would ask for a response back, approximately how many people would want these books. So he'd get the response back. It'd be 10, 20, 30 books, whatever. So he'd get them printed, and then he'd show up to that town on that day and that time, and he would sell the books. And it was all done through copywriting. And it all started with discovering what they needed, right? What was the thing they needed? Obviously, this was really easy for him because he was selling religious books. So he just needed to know what religion they practice. Because generally back then in the 1400s, they would have one book that the town would share, or maybe 2 or 3, depending on how wealthy the town was. So he would bring the books into town for these guys. So he would discover their needs. And then he would explain the importance of fulfilling the need, because you have to move them out of their place of comfort into a place of uncomfort because they don't have the thing. So they'll make a decision to buy whatever it is you're selling them. And then you have to supply it to them. So it's a very simple process. You explain exactly, you figure out what they need by doing some type of survey, asking the right questions, getting involved in the community, whatever. And then you dig at their pain points, because you've now discovered what the pain points are. You present an offer of some sort that fulfills and relieves this pain itself. Then you tell them exactly how they can get whatever it is that's going to relieve that pain. It's a very simple process. I break it all down in chapter 5 of the book itself, and it will help pretty much, even if you stare at a blank screen all day and you can't write a single word, if you struggle writing Facebook posts or whatever, this process will help you write very quickly, very effectively, and without pulling your hair out because you're just completely unsure of how to start or where to go or what to write about. So it will help tremendously for anybody that believes they're not a writer.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll definitely be sure to have the link for your book down in the description. So anybody who's interested in, improving copywriting, improving communication, or just becoming, all around more effective communicator in person, whether it's in business or life, definitely go down to the description and take a look at that book, buy it, get reading it, get improving. But you also mentioned that you have a course and about 20 students in its beta version. Yes. What exactly does your course teach? What are some of the things that you're doing there?
So and I get asked this question often. So right now, because it's in the beta version, the reason it's still in beta version now, and it's been probably at least 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, maybe about a year actually, that I've had my first student enroll. Was because I was going one direction with the course and it was going really, 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 really well. And then I got maybe 10, 12 students in there, and we started moving some content around to make it easier on them to learn. And I was really using them as my beta students, right? Because I've never, I didn't do the college thing. I didn't pay attention in school. So I didn't really pay attention to how people teach. So this was a process. I ended up, this book, if you're somebody that's building a course, it's Understanding by Design. It's like a $100 book or $80 book or something. But this teaches you how to lay stuff out. So about, after changing stuff around for 3 or 4 months with my students, I decided I would actually start to figure out how to lay out all the content. So I figured out how to lay out all the content, and I just went full speed and I did it. And so now basically the course is set up right this second. to where it's a 6-week program and you learn how to break, because most people are going to have some type of limiting beliefs. So it teaches you how to get into the copywriter's mindset, how we think, why we think it, how to get into the mindset every single day, and how to be able to write every single day. So kind of eliminating writer's block and getting you writing every day. And then we move right into how to, create your client avatar, how to do the research on them, how to figure out what the pain points are, all that fun stuff. We move into writing headlines, there's multiple styles of headlines for different types of things, different types of offers, different types of copy and everything else. So we write in and go into how to do that, how to create templates from winning headlines. So you can, so you're not relying on my stuff. You can actually go and figure it out on your own if you wanted to. I do provide tons of templates though. And then moves into actually writing writing a full-fledged sales letter. So you write your hook, which is the beginning. This is really going to get somebody hooked into what's going on. And then what we call the lead. So the lead is the actual body of whatever you're writing: Facebook post, video sales letter, regular sales letter, whatever. And then into the bullet points and closes. So the bullet points are probably the most effective piece of your copy for anything. The great Frank Kern, the president of the internet, or whatever he calls himself, his biggest thing anytime anybody's writing copy and getting conversions of some sort, but maybe they're not breaking even, or they're losing money, or the numbers aren't where they're supposed to be, first thing he does is add more bullet points. Bullet points are very effective. Most people will skip to this point, and if they're not sold by your copy, they're sold by your bullet points. So they're very important. So I teach you how to write these, how to create your own templates from successful ones, stuff like that. And then how to close on the sales letter itself to get someone to actually do something, buy your stuff, schedule a phone call with you, download your ebook, whatever it is that you're doing. And then I teach you in week 6 how to edit and rewrite everything, because no one in the history of time has ever written a sales letter perfect on the first try. I used to think I could, and then I rewrote some of my old ones, and I could not believe the difference in conversions. I thought I was doing well, making people $40,000 a week. I'd rewrite that sales letter after a couple of months, and they were doing $100,000 a week. So the rewrites, the edits are important. I teach you how to do that as well. The good news is that everyone that is, of my 20 or so students right now that are in my beta version of my course is actually going to get split into 2. I have a licensing deal that is about 95% done. And that is going to be primarily focused on promoting an affiliate offer. So how to write a Facebook ad in a specific way, how to create a landing page in a specific way, how to write follow-up emails in a specific way. So it's going to be a pretty in-depth course on how to do that in your own style. So that's going to be one. And then the second course is going to be Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube video scripts, YouTube pre-roll, long form sales letters, short form sales letters, video sales letters, email marketing, cold email marketing, and that. So the beta students are going to get both. So if someone wanted to invest and get in early, obviously you don't get all the content right now, but you get a significantly reduced price. And you wouldn't have to buy 2 separate courses. So the grandfathered in people will get all of that. That will be open until, I don't know, probably April, I think the first Friday in April, until April 5th, I'll leave it open until April 12th on that. I do actually have to shut the whole grandfathered in thing down because people I'm doing the licensing deal with are not happy that I'm already doing it, but they'll get over it. So I'm going to do that. So by April 12th, you'll get grandfathered into both. If you do invest in the course, you will get a free copy of this. If you just want to start with this, it's totally cool too. No, I will not credit you the money for the book if you buy the course after. And then also another thing too, and this is going to be whether you buy now, you buy later. Every Wednesday, I do a Facebook Live inside of our Facebook group with all of my students. They ask me questions, I critique their copy, and if they don't have questions or copy, I teach an in-depth lesson. Maybe something I learned, something I just written about, conversions that I had just seen, numbers I had just seen, the strategy that I just saw. Because working with the high-level people that I do now, I get to see stuff before everyone else starts teaching you how to do that, usually 6 to 9 months early. So I get to relay that information to my students, which is awesome. So we can put a link, I guess, in the description for the beta testing group if they want in. I don't hard sell that by any means, but it will make you a better copywriter. I've taken guys that were working, Dave is one of probably my top students. He's in his 40s. He went from working a cubicle job 9 to 5 his entire life, to about 2 weeks after working with me, quitting his job and starting to make $10,000 a month as a copywriter, which blew my mind. I'll never forget that phone call with him. He's like, "Hey bro, I'm going to quit my job." And I'm like, "Well, you're kind of in your 40s and you're my second student. So we need to make sure you're making a good decision." He's like, "Nope, I did it already." I was like, "All right, let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
So he trusted in me more than I trusted in myself. And it obviously has worked out. He now has a fat 6-figure salary job for a European company, and he gets to work from home, writing copy. And he gets to take his wife and kids to Europe, to all these, the companies in like 10 or 12 different countries over there. So every once in a while he has to go over there. So they pay for his wife and kids and everything else. So his whole family gets to go on vacations like every 3 months. And he gets to write, and he's absolutely loving life, has the full benefits package and everything. So, I know the stuff in there is working, even though not all of the content is even done yet. And then also the weekly lives with me have been absolutely changing lives as well. So if it's something you guys are interested in, more than happy to, you can message me or Chris or whatever on Facebook, and we'll make sure you get in contact with whoever, or you can just buy it straight through the link below. And at the very least, I recommend you start with the book.
Yeah.
Right, like The Wolf, because that will at least change your life. The course will just take it to another level. So.
Yeah, and I just want to reemphasize, everyone that I know quite a few high-level people in this industry now. I've been able to call them friend, and they all have your book. And I've even seen them doing posts about it and how much they're gaining from it. So, I just really want to emphasize on that. People, no matter what level you are in the industry or in life, there's something to be gained from reading this book. And if, copywriting is something that you really want to get good at, then learn from a master. That I would not be a good marketer or a good public speaker or any of the things I am today if I didn't grab a mentor who had already mastered it and literally soaked it up and took action on what they were telling me. Those are two huge things, right? There's more than just finding the mentor and being willing to invest in their knowledge. You actually have to take action on it and start. Even before you, like Cole even mentioned it, his student believed in him more than he believed in himself. So even if you don't have the belief in yourself at first, it will come. And just trust that if someone else is able to do it, you can do it too. And the quickest way to get there is to follow the breadcrumbs of success, to gain a mentor who has already mastered it, that has the success you're looking for, and just do it. There's no easier way, in my opinion. That's just, personal from my life in the last 15 months. I wouldn't have any of the things I have in my life right now if I did not take that exact action. So, just wanted to emphasize on that really quick.
Absolutely, man.
We are getting close to the top of the hour. We probably have, maybe about 10 more minutes left of the interview. So I wanted to close out the interview. I like to get a 2-part question in at the end. And that is, if you're talking to somebody who is interested in entrepreneurship and starting to get into the online space, whether it's be copywriting, marketing, any of the little subsections that come with online marketing, but they're reluctant, they're on the fence about it, what would you say to that person? And then the second part of that question is, they just took that same, or not that same person, but the person just took a leap of faith and they are now invested into learning whatever skill that they want to become a master of in the online space. What would be the bit of advice you would give to that person getting started to really help them avoid, a tremendous amount of stress and really find what they're looking for quickly?
Yeah, I mean, for the person that's got maybe a toe in the water and they're not sure if they want to jump in, kind of thing for entrepreneurship. And this is pretty much every event I've spoken at that has to do with entrepreneurship and not necessarily teaching copywriting. This is always a question that comes up at the end when we do Q&As. And I'll never forget that I've pretty much never gotten a standing ovation from the other speakers that are on stage during like a Q&A panel until I had answered this question. So I had a kid ask me, basically we did to give a little bit of context, this was early last year, like January, February in Seattle. We had a mastermind. It was with Casey Adams and Jaden Gross, who like the younger demographic will probably definitely follow them, but they both run 7-figure marketing agencies. And so there's a Q&A panel at the end of the event, and I'm standing there, and one of the kids raises his hand because he wants to start a digital marketing agency. And he's telling us how he's done all these things. He's built a website. He's got a branding strategy. He's done this. He's done that. He's done this. He's done that. It's like, how do I get my first client? I don't know how to run Facebook ads. And I just simply replied, just go sell them on whatever service or product you're offering, and then pay somebody to teach you how to do it on the back end. Just extend the time frame for you to get started with that client. So if that client's like, I'll pay you $1,000 a month to do whatever it is you want to do, or I'll pay you $1,000 for 20 hoodies or whatever. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You can sell anything, right? So accept their money, take it up front, tell them you will deliver it in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. Go find somebody that's done what you're doing and go, hey, I have $1,000. I need to learn how to do this thing. Go. I promise you, there's nothing, unless you are building a brand new car like Tesla, or you're sending somebody to the moon, you can learn pretty much anything from an expert and at least get the foundational fundamental stuff enough to get the ball rolling in 60 minutes. There's not a human on this planet that won't take $1,000 for 60 minutes of their time. I know I could go maybe like, I guess like Ty Lopez, guys that are making probably a couple $100,000 a day, they probably won't do it, but you don't need them. You could go to somebody that's running a 6 or 7-figure business and go, hey, I need 60 minutes of your time. I'll give you $1,000 to help me get from point A to point B. Can you do that? There's no shame in doing that. I remember my very first sales letter I wrote. I said yes. It was like a $10,000 deal. So I took the 10 grand, didn't know what I was doing. Didn't even know what a sales letter was, but I was really good at sales. So I sold the guy on it. And then I went and paid a copywriter and said, hey man, I'll give you 6 grand. You're going to write it and you're going to teach me how you wrote it. And he said, okay. So I gave him the 6 grand. He wrote it. He did a Zoom call, just like you and I are doing. He recorded the whole thing. And I said, great. Now I know how to write a sales letter. Turned it into the client. Client made their money back and then some. I kept the $4,000 in profit and learned how to do the skill. So, and this was early. This was before I could use the Ty Lopez and the Chris Record and Tim Sykes to close deals, right? This was like before anybody even knew who I was, before I had contacts with these guys. This was when I was a nobody and I was still able to close big deals. So my suggestion, just to kind of summarize this, is if you are scared to get started, whatever it is you want to do, just pick the one business you want to run, the one product, the one service you want to sell, and just go sell it. Take the money, pay somebody to learn how to do it. That's it. Yes, you're not going to make any money on your very first deal. But if you're going to take money from somebody, you got to be able to provide the result that they're expecting. So you have to invest that money. Once you figure out how the process works, then you can go close 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people and then produce the result. And then you can continue to do it over and over and over again. If you want to sell playing cards, this is your new business. You're going to sell playing cards. You don't know who your distributor is. You can't get your foot in the door, yet whatever. Go get a purchase order from a company that wants to buy 1,000 of these. Take their money, go to a distributor and say, I have X amount of money. I need X amount of cards. Can you make this? And they will make it for you. The idea is to get the cash flow first, figure out how to fulfill it second, and then repeat the process over and over and over again. I think that's the best advice I could give to anybody that's not sure. And then for that person that jumped head, what was your second question? Did they jumped in already?
So yeah, they're invested, but they haven't really gotten started yet. But just some advice to them to help them find what they're looking for a little bit quickly and a little bit less stress.
They're just, what's the best way to say? Everybody keeps talking about this passion thing. I think this is what's fucking people up with this. So people invest and they believe in themselves, whatever. And then they're like, I don't know if I'm passionate about this, or I'm not sure I'm going to love this. I don't know if this, I don't know if that. They have all these if questions. What if this, what if that? I don't know if that. And you're never going to know unless you try. Right. I didn't know I was going to like writing books. Now I love writing books. I have another book coming out that'll be done next month. And then I have another book that'll be done in June. And then I have a book that'll be done. But I didn't know I was going to like this, but I tried it. And if I didn't like it and I didn't want to fulfill it, I don't really like the mailing of the books. That kind of sucks. I'm trying to figure out how to do that online still cheaply. But you're never going to know unless you try. So even if you don't think you're going to love something, give it a shot, see what happens, give it 90 days and put your all into it. Act as if this is the thing you're going to do and that you're going to become the best at, and do it every single day. Put the work in, and you'll either love the process or you won't. If you don't love it, you don't love the product, you don't love what you're doing, do something different after 90 days, but you have to give it a solid 90 days of your commitment. And just starting, I mean, there's no, I mean, when I start, like for copywriting, I started by running a Facebook ad to generate a lead for my friend's business. Okay. And I didn't love it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this whole Facebook ads thing. And I kept going down the path, and the path started to veer this way. And I was like, okay, let's go that way. And then I started writing copy, and then it started going this way. Now I start teaching copy, then it went this way, and I start speaking on stage, and now I go this way. I'm selling books, and then I go this way, and I start doing licensing deals, and then I go back this way. It starts somewhere, right? Could be running a Facebook ad, could be affiliate marketing, could be selling your own product or service, whatever. Start somewhere. Eventually, the path will wind itself to and fit within what makes you happy. The opportunities will start to come once you start. If you don't start, nothing's going to happen. So start doing something, and eventually it'll kind of weave its way into what you want it to be. And that's the best advice I can probably give anybody that is not sure about getting started after they've maybe invested or made the decision that, yes, I'm going to do something, I just don't know what it is. Just pick anything. If you can't pick it, print out a list, take a dart and throw it at it. Whatever it lands on, start there. I promise you, whatever you pick today will not be the thing you do in 10 years. It's very rare for that to happen anymore, especially when you're doing stuff online, because the online space will change. The way fulfillment will change. The way we have to deliver products will change. The quality, the level we have to deliver at, what the market's going to want, everything's going to change. So find your path, right? And it'll happen. And I know I give really long answers, but Gary Vee, for example, right? Started in the wine business with his dad, grew his dad's $3 million business to a $60 million business. He's like, okay. Then he started a digital agency because he knew that media was going to run the world. And he was right. Builds a huge digital media agency, does like $200 million in revenue or whatever the number is, right? He doesn't care about the digital agency. He loves the impact it makes and all that fun stuff. Like, it's great, but that's not why he does what he does. He created a digital media agency so he could do whatever he wanted after. He wanted a talent agency. He wanted a booking agency. He wanted his own wines. He wanted to hang out with rappers. He wanted to do all of these other things, but knew that the digital media agency was going to be his gateway to do all of these different things. So it's just picking a path, going with it, and then finding the opportunities that are going to kind of surround that path, that you can then pull in with you on your journey and kind of take with you. So that would be my long-winded advice for anybody that is ready to get started, but not sure if they should or what they should get started with.
Perfect, brother. That was perfect. Long-winded or not, it was a great example of, just get started, right? Like, that's it.
Yep.
No matter what it is. So, Cole, I just want to take a moment and just thank you again for taking the time out of your day to be a part of the show. Really do appreciate it. Eternally grateful. And,
yeah, man.
Moving forward, man, I just believe in what you're doing so much. Anything that I could ever do to help serve you, please just reach out. I'd be willing to do that for you. No problem.
Of course, man. I appreciate it, dude. I love doing these, especially with friends of mine. And likewise, dude, like if there's absolutely anything I can ever do for you, don't hesitate to reach out, man. Like, love helping out, people with good stories, good intentions, and, just good energy. And you have all of that, which is awesome. So glad we got connected. So grateful for, all of the opportunities that have lined up, for me to be able to even have an opportunity to meet you in the first place. So
thank you, brother. I do. It means a lot to me. Thank you. And to you, the viewer, Cole's book will be or the link for it will be down in the descriptions. Please go down there and get it. It's going to absolutely benefit you to read it. And if you are interested in copywriting, the link that will be in there for his beta course. I just can't emphasize enough, guys. If you want to step into something, but you're scared or reluctant, the best, easiest way is to learn from a master. And that's, what you're able to do here is to get the inside scoop, to get literally a master to review your stuff on a weekly basis, which was huge for me when I first got started. Getting into those weekly reviews was something that catapulted and skyrocketed my results faster than I ever thought possible. To have someone with that level of expertise, to understand what they're looking at, to look at your campaign, your business before you understand it, and then to show you what they're looking at to help you understand it. That level of expertise, that level of guidance is priceless, guys. That's the step, like those are steps to mastery. So just want to really emphasize on that. And, as always, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch these interviews. It means the world to me that you trusted me enough to want to be here and learn from us. And, if you like this interview, definitely hit that like button and comment your biggest takeaway for me so we can really, engineer these interviews moving forward to give you the most value and to get you the answers you're looking for. And if you want to get these as they're coming out to get all the fresh value, definitely hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next week. Peace. Cool.
I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.